Hey friends, it's UrsulasRevenge, and today we have a video that's kind of a special request. So a little while ago, I got this comment, thank you for your suggestion, to talk about different things that you can do in Star Stable when you're bored and have absolutely nothing else to do in the game. This video is like a few weeks overdue, my bad. But I have done some brainstorming, I have a little checklist of things to go over. So without any further ado, here are some things you can do in Star Stable when you're bored. I am going to try and do this like a talk-in train, but those haven't historically worked really well for me in the past, so we'll see if we need to switch it up as we go. So while this video is predominantly targeted for people who have done absolutely everything there is to do in the game, obviously you can get bored at any level of playing this game, so these tips should work for everybody. But as a reminder, if you haven't completed everything, there are some underrated activities that you can do that Star Stable does provide for you in the game. For example, you can do things like collecting your stars, you can do tokens travels and later on Brissy's travels once you unlock Mistfall and Redwood Point. You can collect Catherine's memories if you are far enough in the main story quest. And I guess also, if you are far enough in the main story quest, you could collect Arissa's dolls, though those reset every single day, so they aren't exactly the most exciting collectibles to do. Though they do work really well if you are doing Trailblazer track. There's also the spiders that you can collect, because there's 100 of them. You can also max your reputation, which I only just finished the new Jorvik stables reputation yesterday, so my reputations are now 100% maxed again. And finally, if you haven't done it already, do all of your yellow quests. Those are all the ones that are going to progress story quests with the different characters around Jorvik, but also the main story, which is kind of the main draw of the game. So if you've done all those things and you no longer have anything else to do in the game, what are you actually supposed to do for any fun? I know a lot of people kind of feel this way, that maybe Star Stable doesn't give them enough to do on a daily basis to keep them engaged and coming back to the game. I know that's one of the reasons why a lot of people are asking for them to do even more quests and are a little disappointed that we don't get that many quests in a year. Oh, what am I doing? Wow, I'm surprised that that counted. I've always been really big on making your own fun in this game, and it's kind of necessary when there is a finite amount of things that you can do. What I mean by making your own fun is, once you kind of finish everything there is to do in the game, it almost becomes a sandbox. It's more of a, I guess, roleplay environment, but don't get scared when I say roleplay, because we are going to be talking about roleplay a little bit later in this. Well, I mean, we're actually going to be talking about it immediately after this, but what I'm trying to say is, it's kind of like the world's your oyster. You can do absolutely anything you want in the game, because you've unlocked every area, you've unlocked all the races, and now it's completely up to you what you want to do for fun. And that can be daunting for a lot of people, so here's where my list of ideas comes in. First, and like I mentioned, there's roleplay. I know sometimes the concept of roleplay may be a little cringy to some people. However, it's not as intense as it maybe sounds, or daunting even. Roleplay can be anything from like fully immersing yourself in a fictional character and just becoming them and doing things as they would. But it can also be as simple as just like giving custom names to your horses and riding them around and doing trainings with them. It really is what you make it, and that's kind of like one of the awesome things about roleplay is you can do, there's no wrong way to do it. Granted, I'm also really into Dungeons and Dragons, so roleplay as a concept is not unfamiliar to me, but also as a kid I played a lot of make-believe, and that's essentially all roleplay is. Some different ways that you can roleplay in Star Stable would include if you want to roleplay in-game with other people using the filtered chat. That's not one of my favorite ways to roleplay, only because I'm an adult, but, I mean, you do you. So long as you obviously keep it appropriate, because this is a children's game after all. But also just in general, you should keep your roleplays appropriate, because especially if you're role-playing with somebody else, because now you're infringing on what they're comfortable with, and you don't want to cross their boundaries either, because that's no fun. Personally, for me, when it comes to roleplay, I set up my own Instagram account for my character. So my roleplay account on Instagram is Arya Mistwood. It is named after my Star Stable character. I decided to leave their name the way that it was because I actually really liked the name that I picked for them. Though, if you do scroll on... Oh my god, I'm doing so bad today. This is what I mean when I say that I can't race and talk at the same time. Anyways, some people will actually make like a customer slightly change their Star Stable in-game name to a roleplay name. So sometimes you'll see SSO name versus RRP name, which stands for realistic roleplay name. For example, my friend Kit in game, she is Kit Applecastle, but in her roleplay, she's Kit Applewood. And her roleplay account is Applewood Rescue. Actually, she has another roleplay account, which we'll also talk about in a little bit. Hi, yeah, I forgot to come back to this part. Something else that some people do when it comes to roleplay is they make fake businesses and different brands that are part of their roleplays. So, like I was saying with my friend Apple, she has a tack line called Orchard Riding Company. And I have another roleplay account that is Wild Hearts Safety Network, which is essentially like a horse adoption like advertisement board, mechanically anyway. I also have a feed line with that brand. And there are other roleplay groups like Hooves for Hope that does rescue and also has their own tack and feed line, and Fawn like Equestrian that also has their own tack and feed line, and both are boarding facilities as well. There are also all sorts of different businesses you can have. Really, there's no limit. Apple and I were coming up with like a list of fun ones we haven't seen a whole lot of, like having a farrier or like a fire department. There's also a few different like task force and like law enforcement ones I've seen as well. And one of my other friends who does roleplay has like a brewery. So lots of different things you can do with roleplay in Star Stable. So also, like I had said, there are a ton of different ways you can roleplay. You can focus on having just like a storyline for your character. For example, my character Arya works as a gardener at Fawn Lake. You can join roleplay groups, which is really fun. Like I mentioned, Fawn Lake, there's a bunch of different groups as well. There are roleplay barns that you can join so that your horse is kind of like boarding at a location and then you kind of use their facilities. You can also do this all on your own and just make everything up as you go. And as far as how you tell your stories, that's, again, completely up to you. I like to use Instagram because I really like taking pictures of my character and of her doing things that she does. And then what I'll do is I'll write captions, so like little storylines and paragraphs of things that explain what's going on in the picture as I imagine it. Because the picture's only like a little snapshot of the story. Sometimes my captions are shorter, sometimes they're longer. I don't actually have a plan, to be honest, when I do any of my roleplay stuff. Especially for the photos, I mostly wing it unless I'm also doing a video alongside it. Videos are also another way that I like to do roleplay content. I've done 2 series so far. Both are 3-part mini-series. I think they're fun, but it also kind of like making videos is fun for me because it's something that I've been doing for so many years that it's fun to also get to do some storytelling along with making just my normal like informational videos. It's also just another creative outlet. So basically that's kind of what roleplay is. It's a creative outlet. No matter how you do it, if you want to do videos, if you want to write stories, if you want to take photos, there's no right or wrong way to roleplay or make your own storyline. I know some people will also cross-post onto Tumblr. Honestly, I've been neglecting my Tumblr. I don't know why, I just kind of go through phases where I just forget some platforms exist. Another thing you might see when it comes to roleplay is people doing collabs. And usually what that means is it's just kind of like a crossover post where maybe you're hanging out with another person who does roleplay in character. Like I've done a couple of posts with my friend Apple. I probably roleplay mostly with Apple, to be completely honest, but we also play a lot of D&D together, so it's just a little bit more natural for us to roleplay together. There are also a lot of nuances when it comes to collaborating, but the main takeaway is communication. So you always want to clearly communicate your expectations as a collaboration partner. If you're collabing, taking pictures together, ideally you would probably both take pictures and post your own pictures about the event, but obviously that's up to whatever you decide with your collaboration partner. Aside from taking pictures and making videos, another one of my favorite ways to roleplay kind of overlaps with taking photos, and it's doing live shows. Live shows are really fun, but they can be a little daunting, and I think that it's probably warrants its own video, but at least let me get into the basics. So the basics of live showing are you join an organization or group. Usually this happens on Discord. The showing organization will announce that they're having a show and you have to sign up for the show. Different organizations have different rules, and they also do offer different types of shows. I've competed in hunters, over fences and under saddle, show jumping, and cross country. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I've done. I have done pole bending and barrel racing, though my character is primarily an English writer, so I don't always do Western writing. Typically, when you do live showing, it uses real world rules, but it kind of changes them or alters them to fit within Star Stable. So obviously it's not real life, so you have to kind of adjust to what you can do in game realistically and then try to like shoehorn real rules into it. What I mean by this is they'll use real world rules for things like getting faults in show jumping or knocking poles. But when it comes to Star Stable, you can't really see when other people knock poles. You have to watch the horse's animations to see if they stop in air, if they start running in place because you've gotten stuck on a pole. And additionally, you're also dealing with things like screen delay, because when you jump over a set of poles on your screen, you are going over them, but on somebody else's screen, you are jumping into the poles. So you don't get faults for actually running into the poles. It's kind of really difficult to explain, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. But the point is, different showing organizations will have different rules and ways they like to do their scoring, faults, and penalties. So if you do join a showing organization to do some live showing, make sure that you read all about the way that they judge on usually their websites, but sometimes they will post it in their Discord servers as well. When it comes to actually finding showing organizations to show with, there's a couple different ways to do this. I typically have gone to Instagram. Oh, I find a lot of people on Instagram actually. So when I first started looking for showing servers, I did start on Instagram just by seeing who I follow, if they've competed in different things. Usually they'll tag the different showing organizations in their posts, and then from there you can find the showing organization's account, and then you can check for their website, and then you can sign up for their Discord. It's kind of a little bit of a long-winded process, but then once I was in one organization, I was able to find other organizations who advertise in the first organization. Again, I know it's really confusing. It's really not that difficult. And then also sometimes the different showing organizations will follow each other on social media. So you can also check who other people are following to see if you can find more to join. Some organizations will be active for a little while and then they'll be inactive for a little while. So I tend to just join a bunch of them. And whenever there's a show available that I'm interested in, I just go ahead and sign up for it. Some of the different organizations that I have already shown with are the Jorvik Equestrian Sports Federation, the Hunter Jumper Showing Association, and Foxborough Showing Association. Some others that I am aware of have joined but just haven't done a show yet with them are Gallopers Keep National Showing, Silver Stirrup Saddle Club, and High Point Show Stables. There are a bunch more. I think I'm probably part of 10 to 12 of them. I just haven't shown in all of them yet. So definitely do some digging on Instagram, see if you can find any that you like, and then do some shows. And the fun thing about shows too are most organizations will give you ribbons depending on how well you do. And then you can take those ribbons and you can Photoshop them into your pictures, or you can make little ribbon boards with them, and then you can post them as like your little roleplay posts. Arya is not my only roleplay account. Technically, I have 3. So Arya is my main one, which is because she's my main character. Then I have Shiloh, who is Arya's sister. Shiloh's page is not really story-based. Shiloh is entirely based on live showing. So most of my ribbon posts are on Shiloh. I have so much fun live showing. It's just such a fun way to play Star Stable. And I come to live showing as somebody who's never ridden a horse before, will never compete on a horse, and I still kind of picked it up. So if I can do it, you can do it too. Oh, I wish you guys still had your daily quests. Let's do Rhiannon's though. There is a lot more to live showing than what I've just said. It is nuanced, but if you would like a more detailed video on how to join servers, how to compete in them generally, because again, every organization has different rules, let me know and I will be happy to do a video all about that. So outside of roleplay, there are other things you can do in Star Stable when there is nothing else to do. And one of those things is training horses. I believe, maybe I'm wrong here, but from what I've seen, most people usually will buy horses without having all of their horses maxed. I kind of went through this phase where I was training all of my horses so that none of them needed to be trained anymore, because I felt bad riding a horse that did not need to be trained if I had a horse that needed to be trained. I couldn't just ride the horse that I wanted to because I felt like I always had to be training a horse. So my goal for that was to just have all my horses trained so I didn't have to worry about that. But then I had no more horses to train. So you see where my problem is. However, Apparently, I think I might be the minority there. I think most people still have horses to train because they come out so frequently. So if that's you and you still have horses to train, do that. And you might say it's kind of boring, but there are fun ways to spice that up too. So whether you do or don't have horses still to train, I think all of this stuff will still be relevant, because if you don't have horses to train, you can just go for high scores instead. So if you're not training, you're going for high scores, but you're going to spice it up regardless using these tips. I sometimes like to set goals or challenges for myself when I'm either doing training or high scores. The first way that I like to do this is what I'm calling Chase the Championship. And all that means is that wherever the next championship is going to be, I will go to that area, do all of the different chores and all of the different races and stuff in that area before the next championship happens. So I try to finish everything before the next championship, and then I go area to area depending on where the next championship is. Now that doesn't always work out perfectly, because sometimes championships repeat, or sometimes you'll have done all of the championships, so you've done everything in an area. Usually it takes a couple hours before you get to that point though, and I usually stop playing before that happens. So for example, if the next championship is the new Hillcrest Championship, I will go over to the new Hillcrest area. I'll probably get my fossils first, then I'll go do the stable chores, and by then, maybe if I have time, I'll do the Crescent Moon Village race, and usually by then, the championship will be just about ready to go, so I can go ahead and do the championship. And then let's say the next one is Jorvik Stables, which I don't actually know if that's the correct order, but either way, let's just pretend that it is. I will go over to Jorvik Stables. I'll do the Greendale races first. I'll do the Jorlaheim, I think, race at the bottom of the hill. I'll do the Jarlsons races. I'll go do the stable chores over at Jorvik Stables, and then I'll go and do the championship there. And I'll just keep doing that until I run out of championships. The next one, I think, is a preference of my friend Apple, and it is quite literally rolling a die to decide what your next activity is going to be. So you can make a little chart of 20 different areas of the map or 20 different races, and then you just roll the die and just go area to area depending on what number you roll. So let's say I have a list of 4 things. I'll do Moorland, Fort Pinta, Silverglade Village, and the racetrack. I'll take a die, I'll roll it, it's a 4. That means I have to go do everything at the racetrack first. I'll roll the die again, and let's say it's a 2. That means now I have to go to Fort Pinta and do everything there. So you're going to be doing a lot of running around back and forth, but it does give you a different training route every single time, so you really can't get bored. Unless you don't like running around everywhere, then I could see you getting bored. Natural soap, herbal tea, linen napkins. Let's hope I don't forget these things in my inventory today, because I've been there. I've already forgotten everybody I have to go to. Here you go, Avalon. And the last training / high score kind of little challenge you can do is what I call the endurance challenge. So this is something that me and my friend Apple have done sometimes, where basically you do a series of 3 different races. So you can either do a roll a die or a random generator, where you basically put every race in Star Stable in a list and then you just pick 3 at random, or you can choose specific ones either to a theme or just ones you want to do. And we will race each other to see who can complete all 3 races first and kind of meet up at a designated finish line. It's fun because there is an unlimited number of ways and combinations that you can do this challenge. You can also challenge your friends to actually do this together, especially when you're hanging out and you're both bored. And getting competitive is fun. At least in my opinion. I am quite competitive. I didn't realize how competitive I was, but I actually am quite competitive. So, for example, in June, me and Apple hosted an event for Fawn Lake where we held one of our endurance gauntlets, but we had more people involved. We had everybody start at the Silverglade Equestrian Center in the arena where they do dressage. Everybody had to complete 3 races in any order of their choosing. The races were Lizzie's jumping course on Paddock Island, Idris's circus race where you become the Golden Lusitano, and the beach race on Fort Pinta Beach. Once everybody completed those 3 races, they would then race over to cross the finish line at the Baroness's racetrack. And then we saw who completed it first, and they were the winner. For that one, we gave out ribbons, but when you're just playing with your friends, you don't have to do that. That was more a roleplay barn event, but the concept was the exact same. when in doubt, create your own game modes. I think that that's kind of like a fun way to spend time with your friends. It allows you to be a little bit competitive. It allows you to be creative with what Star Stable gives you to play with. And again, it just leans back into the whole making your own fun aspect, because, I mean, at that point, Star Stable just becomes a sandbox and the only limit is your imagination. I think it would be cool if Star Stable had some way to make custom game modes. I don't know how they would ever do that. I'm kind of thinking about it the way that Overwatch did it. Again, no idea how they did that, but the option to create custom game modes I think would just be so cool. And if not custom game modes, maybe like custom race routes, like using like the Paddock Props and stuff like that. Again, I don't know how they would do it, but I just think that it would be fun. But that's kind of a video for another day of ideas I think Star Stable should do, but probably never will, because I don't know how they would possibly do that, because I'm not a game developer. It's a really long video title. And speaking of Paddock Props, and kind of to also backtrack into roleplay, another solo way to roleplay would be to using the different Paddock Props around the world of Jorvik and creating your own courses and jump courses and different dressage routines. Basically, make your own practices within Star Stable is also another way you can roleplay as well. Even if you do it just by yourself, or if you want to show friends your different course designs and have you guys run them together, both of those are awesome ways to roleplay as well. And finally, one last thing to do when you're bored in Star Stable is to join a club. Joining clubs in Star Stable is another one of those things that may take you off of the site and onto a different one. So for example, a lot of clubs will utilize Discord to do things like hangout calls or different things that Star Stable doesn't innately allow you to do. Obviously, when it comes to either joining like a live showing organization or a club, you want to always practice internet safety. Honestly, even in Star Stable, you want to practice internet safety. It's just a little bit easier to do that with the chat filter. So always remember to never share your real name or any other real life information. Never share where you live. Never share any personal information. That's things like your parents' names, your pets' names. Technically, you probably really shouldn't share, because a lot of people use their pets' names as passwords and other security information. Don't share your age, because you never know who you're talking to. So just in general, be very careful when you're talking online with either in Star Stable or on Discord or literally anywhere else. I feel like that's just important for me to say. I probably should have said it earlier. But anyways, a lot of clubs will have you join a Discord server so that you can chat with them. They're not always required, but sometimes they are. Especially if you're joining a club that has things like live lessons or live practices. There are tons of clubs for different interests. So, like I mentioned, there are some clubs that do dressage drills, so they have multiple practices a week for different lengths of time. There are ones that are maybe a little bit more relaxed and you can just kind of pop in when you feel like it. Maybe go for a trail ride every once in a while. There are some other ones that may be a little bit more competitive. Doing different live shows, or kind of like keeping on top of which live shows have shows so you can all compete together or host their own shows. And there are also tons of clubs in Star Stable that don't use external sites like Discord. They just purely exist within Star Stable itself, and that's totally okay too. Ultimately, when it comes to joining a club, just make sure to look around and find one that suits your interests, as well as your activity level, because not everybody can participate in hour-long daily lessons. So just, keep honest to what you're actually able to commit to. As far as finding different clubs, at least ones that you may have to like apply or try out for, you're probably going to want to find that on Instagram. I'm not sure of any other way to do it. Sometimes clubs will advertise in Star Stable, though it also depends on what server you're on. I have a feeling most will probably be on Nightstar, but that's not always the case. If you're on Poppy Moon, you might see the Wise Owls community hanging out around. I love seeing them at championships. They're very, very nice. And I know I found them first on Instagram. It is by no means a definitive list. There are, I'm sure, things that I've missed that maybe I just don't do quite as much, but these are most of the things that I like to do when I am bored in Star Stable. It's mostly role-playing, taking pictures, training my horses or doing high scores, making different jumping courses. That's a really one of the things I really like doing and I don't do quite enough. I've been caught up in this game for at least a couple of years now, and I don't know, there's always something that just has me coming back, and it's not like regular content updates, because we all know that while they do update the game every week, sometimes you log in for a day and then that's it for the week for you. But yeah, I still log into this game every single day, and there's always something for me to do, even if, you know, it's my own fun that I'm just creating out of nothing. So I hope that this list helps you the next time that you are bored. If there is another thing that you like to do in Star Stable that I have not mentioned here, leave it below in the comments and maybe it'll help somebody else out. Or maybe you'll give me more ideas of stuff I could do in game. Well, anyways, that is it for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another video like this. I do try to cover every Wednesday update and more, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!